Lucy Marks, if you don't already know me, and I run the Norfolk Network. This is actually week 14, so my apologies if you've heard this 14 times, or at least half a dozen times. But I run the Norfolk Network, which is a business membership organisation, and we bring together forward-thinking founders and directors, people working in some really cool, dynamic and innovative and growing startups and growing businesses. And really, we have from all different sectors as well and backgrounds, which is the magic, people coming together. We have a common purpose. We want to sort of build things, make things happen for ourselves, for our teams, for our businesses. And we really do that through exchange of knowledge, some practical, useful knowledge, peer support, and also building those really essential business relationships. We're very member-led, so we do a lot of things, and I don't do it all myself. I work with members. I really encourage people to step up and get involved and speak at events like this, and to sort of really contribute to the vibrancy of a local network. So yeah, it's been delightful to work with Norwich Biz. They're a very dynamic and forward-thinking business, and very passionate about the vibrancy of this city. So I was really delighted to be able to sort of put on a series of talks. So we're going until the end of June. My God, it's June soon. I remember how I felt in February, standing here. It's been quite relentless every week, but it's been terrific fun. And we have such a diverse group of speakers. And today, I'm absolutely delighted that Ieva is talking for us today. Eva's an assistant professor at the Norwich Business School in organisational behaviour, and she's an expert in innovation and psychology. She helps SMEs as well to unlock creative potential for business growth and well-being. And her research has been published in world-leading outlets, recognised by the Financial Times Top 30. So she's developed a very unique daily innovation practice, which she's going to tell you all about today, I think. And you're going to be talking about organic creativity. So please join me in giving Ieva a very warm welcome.
Thank you very much, Lucy. Thank you for having me and finding time and space to come. So let me warm up a little bit and make a confession, right? Recently, I was doing a lot of self-talk, and it started with a necessity, because I realized that talking to my talking about creativity to my kids and my husband started working against me. So my son would come to me and say, "Oh, mommy, can I have some screen time on my iPad?" And I would say, "No, obviously," and then he would put this big smile on his face. "But mommy, please, can I show you something? It's about creativity." So no more creativity talks to my kids, hence a lot of self-talk. So I have been researching and teaching creativity for more than a decade. And creativity was always a part of my work and life. I don't know, since I can remember, then it didn't matter the jobs I had. So I worked as a sales manager and used my creativity and creative problem solving in that context. I worked as a corporate trainer and had also to think, to find new ways of connecting with my audiences. And then of course in academic research and teaching, there's a lot of creative thinking happening. And I never worked for creative industries. So therefore, and having all those different experiences using creativity in different contexts, I wanted to debunk some of the myths that still exist. So, and one of the myths that I thought it went away, but it's still here. We still associate creativity many times with artistic endeavors. Okay, when we say creativity, we think art, and it's simply not true. At best, we think that creativity is for marketing, but not for accountants, right? But let me ask you something. When crisis or pandemic or other crisis hits us, does it care about our profession, right? We need to be creative thinkers. Doesn't matter what we do, what work we do, it doesn't matter. Creativity is about finding new ways of doing things. Creativity is about adapting to new realities that we have. Creativity is about finding new solutions to the old problems, spotting new problems, new opportunities. It's quite a complex, right? It's quite a complex context. So creativity that someone requires in, I don't know, graphic design, it's different from creativity that you require as an entrepreneur, right? But the process and the practice that helps us to be creative is still similar, okay? Therefore, the talk is about organic creativity. That applies, doesn't matter what type of job you do, the type of job you do. So another myth is, again, very popular. Well, you are either creative or you are not creative. So you are born creative or you are not born creative, and there is nothing that we can do about it. It could be a very long answer to this myth, okay? I want to debunk it, but the short answer is creativity is a mindset, okay? It's a curious mind, it's an always learning mind, it's wanting to do things better mind, it's wanting to fail mind, okay? It's a mindset. Creativity is also a skill, right? So if you find difficult to come up with new ideas, right? Maybe there is a skill challenge, right? There is a skill gap. And one thing that really surprises me, so there is a data in the UK that says that companies are really willing to invest in research and development. It's not a problem with technological investments happening. But there's very little investment happening when it comes to helping people develop creative thinking skills. Okay? And I think this is where there is a big, big gap. Right? So creativity is a mindset, is a skill, it's an environment. Organizations can do a lot to create the supportive environments where we are not afraid to fail, environments where learning is encouraged, environments where different voices are encouraged, right? So it's about an environment. But today, another perspective that I wanted to share with you, that creativity is also a state of mind, a psychological state of mind, a state of mind to which we can enter. Okay, so bear with me. Now, what I also hear a lot is that if you are creative, ideas should come easy to you. Oh, this is not true. This is far, far away from true. Creativity is a hard work. So I'm sure you know singer and songwriter Sting, right? So he won, let me see how many awards, right? 10 Grammy Awards, right? 2 Brits, a Golden Globe, and Emmy. Do we think Sting is a creative individual?
Yes.
I think unanimously we can agree. Do you know that he also had 10-year crisis of creativity? He could not come up with new ideas, right? Yeah, this is, and this is not the only example. There are different examples, maybe not 10 years, 10 years gaps of creation, but creativity is hard work. It requires a lot of cognitive and emotional resources. So, not surprisingly, I hear another sort of belief or another attitude that exists, that, wait a minute, of course we want to be creative. I want my team to be creative. I want me as a business person or to nurture my creativity. But listen, we don't have time for this. We have business to run. I mean, why do we get time to think about those whole new ideas? So let me tell you something. Time is not the enemy. The busy mind is the enemy. Okay, at least for me, the busy mind is the enemy. And I think it's not only me who feels many times very busy, right? Do you guys feel busy? Yeah, I see a few nods. Yeah. So what do we do with busyness? Okay. So let me share a quick personal story. So when I was doing my PhD at Aston University in Birmingham, right, we had this very friendly cohort of PhD students. We would all get together, bring our lunches. We had this amazing postgraduate office with a nice kitchen. We would sit together, share food, and complain how busy we all were. 10 years forward, I talk to the same people. We all have families, kids. We are busy with our academic careers, right? Some of them are professors already. Some of them run their businesses. the same conversation. We are busy. We're so super busy. If I ask people, how are you? 9 out of 10 would reply 3 words: busy, tired, need holiday. 1 out of 10 doesn't have time to reply. Okay. Me, I am either in one cohort or in another cohort. So either no reply or busy, tired, need holiday. Okay. What is happening? So let me share a forecast. Right? So let's travel 100 years back. Right? There was an economist, Cambridge graduate, John Maynard Keynes, who forecasted that their grandchildren, which is more or less us today, right, would work around 3 hours a day. Why? You know, and 3 hours a day, and only probably by choice, you know, not by necessity. Because of economic progress and technological advances, you know, all what was happening 100 years ago had shrunk working hours considerably, okay? And there was no reason to believe that this trend will not continue. What happened? They got it all wrong. I mean, we don't work 3 hours a day. You know, we struggle to find 5 minutes not to work. So there is also research saying, you know, that when we hear busy, we hear status, we hear, look at me, I am important, right? So it's not always about bad planning, okay? It's not always about having too much on the plate. It's also about this sort of wanting to be busy because I want to be perceived as, you know, important with a high status. But whatever the reason, living in this business paradigm, okay, and being always sort of busyness, overstimulation, you know, constantly, you know, not allowing ourselves to have like a few empty minutes a day, there is no chance for creativity and for deep work to happen, right? We need to do something about it. So let me share like one theory, okay, like in 1996, Cameron Ford, a psychologist who published theoretical work on individual creative action, what he was saying that, okay, look, creative behavior is different from our habitual ways of doing things, right? And it's always in competition. So even if we know that our creative ideas are rewarded, they are still in competition with our old ways of doing things. Now, what is happening when we are busy, overwhelmed, and stressed? There is no chance for new ideas to happen because we are looking even more for shortcuts, right? We don't consider different alternatives. We just make decisions based on our past experience. But those decisions based on past experience do not work in new situations. So I'm sure you are waiting to hear some of the, okay, what can we do about it, right? So what is this organic creativity and what is this creative state of mind? So let me read one excerpt. So there was a poet, May Sarton, who lived, you know, in the throughout the 20th century. Quite an eminent Belgian-American poet, novelist, and memoirist. So let me read a paragraph from one of her most influential books. A strange empty day. I did not feel well, lay around, looked at daffodils against the white walls, and twice thought I must be hallucinating because of the extraordinary scent that goes from room to room. I always forget how important the empty days are, how important it may be sometimes not to expect to produce anything, even a few lines in a journal. I'm still pursued by a neurosis about work inherited from my father. A day where one has not pushed oneself to the limit seems a damaging day, a sinful day. Not so. The most valuable thing we can do for our psyche, occasionally, is to let it rest, wander, live in the changing light of a room, not try to be or do anything, whatever. So yeah, this is where economists 100 years ago went all wrong. okay, we don't have a problem of empty days. You know, they were worried that we will not know what to do with our time. We perfectly know what to do with our time. You know? It's the opposite, right? We do not allow those 5 minutes, 5 empty minutes when we are waiting for a train to arrive, or when we stand in a queue, or, you know. But this is exactly what we need if we want to nurture deep work and creative thinking. From a busy state of mind, literally stepping into a creative state of mind. And it's possible. Good news, it's possible. So I call this creative state of mind our inner sanctuary. Okay, our sort of, doesn't matter where we are, in what environment we work, we can still sort of create those micro routines that help us to experience creativity. And you know, looking for this answer, so as a researcher, for me it was important to understand what research says. Okay, what research says, how can we create those micro rituals? It's really about creating rituals that help us to enter the state of mind. So in search for the answer, what I did, with my colleague, we reviewed about 30 years of research. Okay, and what we noticed, first of all, that was not so much research on how can be about a creative state of mind and what our daily routines can help us to enter it. But we could sort of cluster the research around 4 main, I call them routines or rituals, right? So there is something that we can do with our bodies, right? Physical routines. There is something we can do with our minds, intellectual routines or mind routines. Something with our sort of social rituals, routines, and cultural or artistic rituals. So let me share some examples, okay? Because we want to keep ourselves busy, so let me start with a strategy that I call move, okay? Move to empty your mind. Move, create a space for new ideas to emerge. And organic, because it's very, very natural to us. I'm sure everyone is practicing walking in one form or the other. Or if you are not sort of doing it intentionally, you still have to walk somewhere, to the office, or I don't know, to the shopping center, or you walk your dog. But research says that walking with intention, right, with a creative intention, can also help us to produce better ideas. So next time, and the evidence says that, okay, if you compare the creative output when sitting versus when walking, the difference is about 60%. Okay, there is a TED talk if you want to, I can share after the talk. So walking can help us to de-stress, to re-energize, but what is actually happening if you take a longer walk, if it's like about 50 minutes walk, new ideas that normally sitting at your desk, they would not surface, they start surfacing. Okay. And our inner critic, so neuroscientists have the explanation that our sort of critic is put asleep, and therefore when we walk, because the attention is to the movement, right? So our inner critic is not criticizing more quirky ideas that are emerging in your heads. So walking is a really very helpful practice if you want to sort of enter into this creative state of mind. I do that a lot, and especially when we are stressed, it's quite difficult to sort of suddenly say, okay, now I'm going to daydream and do nothing. But actually I'm so stressed and so overwhelmed and so sort of feeling of busyness in my head. So with movement and going for a walk, it's quite a sort of organic way to get your ideas flowing. The other strategy with which I'm actually personally struggling a lot, that's why I started self-talking, because journaling is really not my thing. But the more it's not your thing, also there is also the other side of the coin. The more you should probably start doing that. So if you feel that journaling, you can sit still and put on paper whatever is in your head, Yeah, no one will force you, but that's a sign that maybe something you should try. So for me, because it's difficult to sit still and put thoughts on paper, I started sort of self-talking when I walk, I self-talk when I cycle, I self-talk when I drive, I self-talk. Sometimes I use my phone to record what I said. I never listen to it, but it's sort of it's my ritual of getting thoughts out, right? And when you are talking to yourself, you know, so we know that self-reflection. This is what we found in research as well. That self-reflection or time when you are processing feedback is actually very important, especially when we live in this overstimulated world. So you may have a meeting with a client, right? And it doesn't matter whether it went well or it didn't go as you planned, but spending some time reflecting on what happened is actually might be more important than the meeting you had. Okay, so pressing pause, think about like this audio cassette player, and the song goes on, and just pressing pause, and this is you are entering in a creative state of mind. The other routine that is I do that a lot, and one of my favorite routines is changing the space. Right, so instead of doing your work always from the same office, be it home office or be it your work office, company's office, it's actually quite helpful to find a space in which you feel creative, right? And it could be different types of spaces, could be libraries, cafes, co-working spaces, could be your friend's office. And this is, many people actually, like someone like Maya Angelou, for instance, we know that she would invite, she would use a hotel room for her writing. Right? She would never write at home. Or Dolly Parton, she would invite her team to a retreat to work on her creative ideas. From business world, Spanx founder and billionaire Sarah Blakely, her creative space is actually her car, so she's known for doing a fake commute. Despite living very close to her office, she would take herself on a drive, and this was her creative space. American composer Steve Reich, for instance, would ride a subway around New York when he was stuck. Actually, some people are really good at brainstorming and generating ideas on planes, on trains, on buses. They have to be in the move, and have a limited amount of time. So think about what's your creative space, where you feel sort of relaxed and in the mode to explore new ideas. It could be the opposite, that you want to find a space where it helps you to focus and to deliver, so you explored ideas for some time. So for instance, from my personal experience, I'm quite good at sort of coming up initially with ideas, but for me the challenge is to narrow down, to converge, to make a decision which ideas to pursue, or to sit down and, write a talk or write down a presentation, so I already have different pieces of ideas. So for me, it's finding a space that helps me to focus instead of sort of have an exploratory mind. For others, you are so much working into one space that literally stepping out of your physical space where you work all the time, you would be surprised. You would just see the world with different eyes. And finally, I think I wanted to share something that very eminent creative people also do, and which is also counterintuitive. So, raise your hand if you have a creative hobby. A few hands. Okay, great. Well, this is on my to-do list. I really want to find a creative hobby. Why? So, did you know that, for instance, actress Meryl Streep, she's knitting. Knitting is her creative hobby. Marissa Mayer, who was a CEO of Yahoo, and now she has her own business. She's crazy about cooking, so cooking is her creative hobby. Warren Buffett, for someone, he's a role model. He's well known for playing ukulele. So what we know from research, that actually being creative in your leisure time can boost your work creativity. right? And a piece of research that has also, so there were two studies, one more than 400 professionals across different industries, but another study was done with military personnel, and they looked in their creative hobbies and how, and if in the evening, people who engaged in the evening in creative hobbies were producing more creative output the day after, okay? So whether it's knitting or cooking or drawing or photography, if you already have a hobby, my sort of encouragement is think, what are you learning from that hobby that helps you? How can you apply what you are doing in that hobby? What does it help you with your work creativity? Are you sort of learning embrace mistakes? Are you less worried about the end result? Are you learning about collaboration? I don't know if you sing in a choir. Are you doing pottery? Because if you are doing pottery, it's like completely like nothing happened, do it again. Nothing happened, do it again. It's like constant learning from sort of failing and failing and failing and failing. And in this way, you can train this mindset of that failure doesn't exist. You know, you simply start from new, right? So another interesting study that was done by psychologists in Michigan State University, they were interviewing 40 scientists, including 4 who won Nobel Prizes regularly over 20 years, and then asked them to fill survey 10 years later. So they found a clear link between success and hobbies, and especially artistic and musical hobbies. Okay, so in scientists who embraced artistic and musical hobbies, this was associated with their success. So I can go on and on. You know, I can give you 30 other strategies. If you're interested, you can browse some cards that I brought with me. But I have to say that it's only one part of the story, because we all know what to do. You know, we all know what the good diet is. The challenge is that it takes time, so it's rather a long-term approach. Understanding what works for me and developing my own creative practice takes time. But once you have it, it's a lifetime. It's for your lifetime, okay? So it also becomes your lifestyle. And it doesn't matter where you live, the work you do, you know that you can always access the creative state of mind through certain rituals and practices. You know, going for a walk, changing the scene, embracing creative hobbies, pressing pause, and reflecting. These are only 4 that I shared with you today, and there are many. What also helps is finding your support network, and I think it's perfect for teams, because if in the team, you know, there are some rituals that you can develop in the team, I think that has a big power, right? If it's only me who is doing that, it's quite difficult. If you don't have a team, you have maybe a support network with whom you can practice certain rituals and routines. So I wanted to show you the first step that you can do. Okay, you with me? Mm-hmm. So the first step, let me guide you through a very, very quick 1-minute exercise. So if you can sit comfortably and close your eyes. And take a few deep breaths. And what about remembering your most creative day? Can you visualize it? Where are you? What is the place? What is your most creative place? What do you do? Are there any other people involved? Are you on your own? What clothes do you wear? How did you travel to that place? You know, what transport did you use? On that creative day, what do you have for breakfast, lunch, or dinner? So can you smell anything? How does it look, your creative day? How does it feel? Is there any taste? Hear any sounds around you? take a picture and keep it with you. If you cannot physically travel, you can always enter your creative space. So we can pause for now and open your eyes. And you are ready now to do your best creative work this afternoon. Okay. And remember, if you don't remember anything from today, please, please, please remember that the secret of creative work is not what we do at work. It's what we do in our downtime. Thank you so much.